Hello, hello, and welcome to the Lions Den podcast. I'm your host, Loren Lyons. Today, we are back with a new episode. It's been a while, but I'm so excited for the second half for you to see our special guest. Today, I have producer, songwriter, and like composer, I guess. You've heard our intro song. Ladies and gentlemen, KRL Khalil is in the building. How are you?
How you doing? How you doing? I'm so good to be here. Like I said, I thought I was loud the first time, so I'm gonna say it again. I love this whole setup. Like you got this like really, really nice. And like when I heard the music, I was like, oh snap, this sounds so familiar. This is cool. This is like nostalgic for me, bro.
Yes, yes. You made that like, ooh, has it been like over 5 years ago or
Yeah, it
something?
was a while. It was a
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah. So thank you for making that music. And
yeah.
that's really what we use for our intro here at the Lions Den. Um, yeah, so can you tell our listeners and watchers if you're on YouTube, make sure to follow, like, and subscribe. And then also if you're on Spotify, do that as well. But so first, can you let our listeners and viewers tell a little bit more about yourself?
Man, so first and foremost, I'm a believer of Christ and Jesus. I love Jesus. Second, I'm a musician. Um, and I guess third, I'm like a regular person who like loves family and things like that. I kind of got my start in music. I want to say about 2022 is when I released my first EP. And then from there, it was just learning a bunch of the ins and outs of networking, social media, shows, different people, and working and just like navigating from that standpoint. But before I ever released my first EP, like I've always done music. Like I've been doing music since I was 8 years old. So like I got
Mm.
into rapping when I was 8. I got into production around 14 ish, and then I got into mixing and mastering around like when I was like 19. And so I learned like how to do it all. Like coming up, like people charge a lot of money for certain stuff. So
Mhm.
it's better to do a lot of stuff in house. And because I didn't have a team at the time, just had to learn how to do everything myself. So that ended up benefiting me in the long run. And then just recently, over the past 2 years, I bumped into some really, really reputable or known people that become really, really close friends of mine that has helped me to take this from a side kind of gig to a full time thing. And so I'm grateful to God. I'm grateful for the people He's put in my life. Um, and now it's just about navigating like all of the different opportunities and meetings and shows and like navigating all of that while still trying to maintain like what you want to stay true to and things like that, like without compromising like why you even started this. So it's kind of like
Mhm.
a little in a nutshell of what's been happening over the past couple of years.
Wow. So walk us through what was that moment where you decided I want to do music full time?
Well, when I wanted to do music full time, meaning like as a dream, or when I was able to.
Uh, I guess both. Like, what was that moment where you were like, you know what? I'm really passionate about music. I want to make this a career. I want to make this my life.
Yeah, so man, my grandma it's so funny, but my grandma does house music. So she actually was a full
Oh
time
wow.
yeah, she was a house musician like way before I was born. Like so seeing her like go to the studio and stuff like that, and my dad was a producer, like it was something that happened with music that I felt like didn't happen anywhere else for me, right? And so like going through certain stuff, going through certain trauma, going through certain things in school, and certain stuff growing up as a young kid, a young black kid, in poverty, in poverty, different things like that. Like we didn't have really many avenues to express ourselves. So music was always a way of expression for me, a way of therapy in a sense. So what the more I did it, we had these things at school coming up called ciphers and like things like that. So we would like all wait till lunchtime. We would eat a little bit, and then somebody would kick a beat off on the table, and then we all just start rapping in a circle. And one time, one of those videos we did went viral when World Star was popping at the time, and we was all young, like 12, 13, and stuff like that. But when I saw like that, man, something as small as a little moment I had in my life that I could put on a piece of paper that I could rap for people could turn into this big moment. I was like, I really want to do this. And so when artists like different artists that I looked up to came up and I started seeing them on TV and all this different type of stuff, I was like, man, like I can only imagine what that's like. So wanting to do it full time has always been a dream of mine, like since I was a little kid, But being able to actually do it full time didn't happen until last November, and
Mm,
that's when I started knowing that I could, because the money that I was making off of my music was, in a lot of times, more than what I was making at my job. And so at that particular time, I was like having a discussion with somebody, and I was like, man, I think I could do this full time, but I'm afraid, like what if I don't keep making this money? What if it goes downhill? And because it's at the root of it all, you're just an entrepreneur. When you're a full time musician, you're just an entrepreneur. Like, so you don't make money unless you go make the money. And so that was the fearful part of it, because I was like, well, at my job, I just work a certain amount of hours and I get paid this amount of money, and I could take care of what I need to take care of. Whereas as a musician, you got to go out and get it. And so it wasn't until last November when I started making enough money to be able to like actually do what I needed to do, while still being able to keep doing more stuff to help me in the long run. And so it was a tough decision to make, but like it's one of those things that, like, when you look back, you're so proud, like, that you did it. You know what I mean? Because sometimes opportunities don't come again. And so like I'm so glad I didn't allow myself to just be stuck in that box and then like try to do this later. Because a lot of times later never comes. And so that's kind of like the transition between both. I always wanted to do it ever since a kid, but I didn't have the actual funding or the the whereabouts, I want to say, for lack of better terms, to actually be able to do it and not have to like reset everything. You know what I mean?
mhm. Wow, that's amazing. I think the fact that you are really really stepping out on faith to go after your dream and wanting to be a musician is really brave, and I'm so proud. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's so good. So, what walk me, or what was the reason why you decided to go in the gospel route of
Yeah,
rap?
so for sure, yeah. Like, I feel like a lot of people have that, they it's a box or like a stigma behind gospel rap and Christian rap and things like that. But really it's just like people that are rapping that's the message that they're pushing, right? And so a lot of times when they're pushing that message, it's really for the message to be pushed, but I feel like it lacks sometimes a certain level of creativity or skill, I want to say. And so for me, I wanted to go in that route because, one, like, I really do believe that everybody's platform should be used for like what their purpose is, right? And so I know my purpose. My purpose isn't out here to be, like every other artist. I have a specific message I'm pushing, and so my specific message I'm pushing just so happened to fall inside of the gospel, category. But I think when it comes down to the approach of it, I wanted to approach rap differently because of like my experience with music, right? So it's certain artists, I don't like to name them because I know a lot of times, people like don't know how to stomach certain things, but it's certain artists that I used to listen to that every time I listened to their music, like I knew I wasn't alone in the things I was going through. I knew that somebody else dealt with this before, they were able to make it out, and this is their perspective of this, but then maybe if I would have looked at this like this, I would have, you know what I mean? So I wanted to provide that same thing, and I had no idea that like my music would touch so many people. Like, obviously, like, nobody, when you're a kid, you don't think thousands and thousands of people were going to be able to like be impacted by your music. You just want your family or your school or like your friends to know. And so it started like that. But with social media and with all this different, like, Spotify and Apple Music, like people can be playing your stuff in a whole nother country, like, and you don't even know who they are. And so that's what made me want to take this route, because I was like, man, like, a lot of people probably won't even go to church. They probably won't sit in a church building, right? But if you play them a song, they'll listen to a song. Like, you send them a link to a
Yeah.
song, they'll check out a song. They'll be like, "Oh, who is this? Oh, I'm gonna listen to him." And then if it's that time, if their heart is open and things like that, like, that song could lead them to everything else that needs to happen in their life. And so, because I've been a part of those things, I just felt like, man, how could I use what, like, the gifts I was given to push this particular message? And in a lot of ways, I'm still trying to figure that out, because, of course, I'm not like in my songs like go to this scripture and look at this. I'm not saying that, but I do think that like I read it for myself, I digest it for myself. So when it comes out way more easy to be able, like to be understood, or to like I try to make it as practical as possible, like being the first example of it in my own life, and then showing them like, hey, look, I also went through things like this and things like this, but look, man, when I found this out, this changed everything for me, like, you know, things like that. So I just look at it like gospel rap for me is a section of rap like that has hope in it, or it should be. You know, like
Mhm.
it's people that's doing the same thing, rapping with some of the same cadences over the same kind of sounding beats, but like what they're saying like has hope built inside of it. You know.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's really good. Because it made me think about when if I'm ever in a crowd, like in college or at a concert or whatever, and there's a DJ and they play like Marvin Sapp, Never Would Have Made
Yeah,
It. You have people in that audience who've never been to church, but you play that song.
they know that.
So that's true. That's a true point. You know, your music, like music, really does transcend, and especially when you have a message of hope, like, and it goes everywhere with streaming and Spotify. Yeah, it can really go far and
Yeah.
really touch people where they are, because they might not never step foot in church, and a lot of them don't. So that's a really good point. And you touched on where the question that I want to ask you next, which is, we hear the term Christian rap.
Uh-huh.
So I want to know, what is your definition of Christian rap? Because like you said, there is like a different viewpoints
For sure.
on, like, is it Christian rap, or do I even want to be identified as a Christian
Yeah.
rapper? So yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I definitely want to be identified as a Christian rapper for what it's supposed to mean. Because, like, if you really think about it, like, it's just a rapper that's Christian, right? Like, so it's like, I don't know why we name it that. Because, like, we don't call people secular rappers.
Right,
like,
exactly.
like,
Yeah.
you know, like, we don't say, oh, he's a secular rapper. Like, he's just a rapper, you know? But I
Yeah.
understand it. And I think that the definition for me is a rapper that's a Christian. Like, that's really all that means to me, right? But at the same time, that also too can like that can be wobbly sometimes, because you may even have a rapper that may have been baptized, maybe a believer, maybe filled with the Holy Spirit, but they are on a different quest in the sense of like what they're pushing and stuff like that. And so I don't ever want to rule a person out just because of their subject matter, that they may not have never had an encounter with God or anything like that. But I do think that there should be a certain like message, life, and like impact following a Christian rapper, right? I think when we hear regular rappers, like we can give them their flowers in the sense of what they do for the culture and like their skill level and things like that. But like we should be able to see fruit from a Christian rapper. Like when people listening to your music, when people at your shows, like we should be seeing stuff different than like, oh, this is the GOAT, or like, you know, because all that stuff is cool. It comes with the territory, but are you actually impacting people? Because if not, I don't think we should wear that title. You know what I mean? Like anytime in the Bible I see in the Christian somewhere they was making impact, I don't think rap should be the only place we should. You know what I mean?
Mm, yeah, that's very interesting point, because you do see a current theme where you have certain rappers who do gospel like
Uh,
music. They want to be considered inspirational,
yeah.
or, artists. And it's just like, it's very weird. And I'm like, why? What does
Wow.
that even mean? I don't quite understand it. So I think you make a really good point. Like, there is a responsibility to that. I think with even gospel music, if you're a gospel artist in general, I do feel like there is a certain responsibility that you do hold, that it's more than just making a record. Um, so how do you feel about that balance of like being a gospel artist, the ministry side of it, but also the commercial? Because of course you have to promote,
For sure.
you have different um music and sound that evolves and
Yeah.
that over time. So what is that balance, and how do you achieve that?
Man, I feel like the balance is definitely different for everybody, for sure. But I think for me, like because I play so many roles, like okay, when I'm not my own, like if I'm not being an artist myself, I may be being a producer for somebody else. I may be being somebody else's engineer. I may be writing a song for somebody else. I may be featuring on another person's song. Like I may be, um, listening to somebody's album and giving them critiques about how I can make them better. So like for me, like I feel like the balance is being able to just be as authentic as possible. You know, like if even when it comes to social media, like you say, you have to promote, right? Like my way that I promote is whatever feels natural to me and how I naturally am as a person is what you're gonna see on my social media, right? And that's why I end up like scrapping my old social media and rebuilding, because what I was doing on my old social media was a bunch of stuff that I saw other people doing that I thought was working, right? Trying to fit in, like trying to keep up with the Joneses, like trying to chase virality versus being authentic and let the virality find you. You know, like people, there's a specific sect of people that your type of personality, like taste of music, whatever, like is supposed to impact, and like let them people find you. Like that's what social media is all about. Like just keep posting, and like Instagram literally is like rigged. Like whoever likes that type of stuff,
Yeah.
they'll put your stuff in front of them, and then you'll literally start being introduced to people you like did not know, and they end up becoming your biggest fans. And like my greatest moment sometimes as an artist, I'm not even gonna lie, has been times where like people have hit me up on social media and I just so happened to be in a city or something like that, and I would go out to get some food with them or something like that, and like we would chill and like take pictures, and like it's just like those moments don't happen if you're not being authentic. Because like imagine if I was trying to be somebody else, by the time you came in contact with me, you like you know what I mean? And so like it's like that's the balance for me. Like when you're doing the authentic music, the gospel music, and you know it's gospel, I think you have to separate the two, right? When I'm creating, I'm not thinking nothing about promotion, right? Like I
Mm.
just want my heart to be on display. Whatever I'm trying to talk about, whatever my subject matter is, like I'm gonna lock in the studio and I'm gonna work. Whenever I am completely done and I sent it to my mentor and I sent it through my homies and I sent it to whoever I want to put their ears on this to see if it's good enough to go, then I'll talk to my videographer and I say, okay, hey, look, here's my goal for what I want this to look like, feel like. How can we shoot this? Where should we go? What all we need to accomplish this? And then from there, then we do it. But like, I feel like when you're chasing something else versus being content with where you are, like that's when you start getting wobbly, and people can see that. You know what I mean? People will literally be like, I don't know, it's something about this. Like that's because it's not true to this person is. You know, like so for
Mhm.
me, I just don't chase virality. I don't, not anymore. I don't chase virality. I don't chase I'm not trying to keep up with the Joneses. I almost know almost every person there is to know inside of this space, but that doesn't mean you have to work with them, and that doesn't mean you have to like be seen with them all the time. So because like sometimes your people may be over here, you know, and y'all grinding and y'all doing this, and let them do, like let everybody function in their space. You know what I mean? Like and just y'all just promote each other, love on each other, like push each other versus I want to be you. You know what I mean? Like for what though? You know, like, and I think that's the thing. Like you have, in order to find balance, you have to master contentment, bro. Like you have to know that like if it's supposed to happen, it will happen at its appointed
Right.
time, and just be consistent doing what you're doing for the reason you're doing it, and like just wait, you know. But all of that, like well, it's not working, so maybe I need to do something different. Like you're not content, bro. You know, you're not content. You still like you fidgety, so you're never gonna be able to find a balance. You know, so that's kind of like how I feel about that because we talk about that a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I think I that to me, I completely agree with. I really feel like I don't know. I feel like the gospel industry as a whole has kind of changed a little bit
Oh yeah,
to being more of like, let's get with the trends, let's do this sound, let's sound like this person, that person. So I think it is so refreshing to know that that's what you're leading with, is staying with being authentic and in doing a sound that sounds good to you, and not switching up for what is trendy or what, even execs want gospel artists to do now. I feel like what we used to get back in the day is,
yeah.
I want to know your thoughts too. I feel like what we get back in the day is not what we get today, like
No,
today at all. And I don't know why people are so caught up um in wanting to cross over or wanting to sound like another artist, or not really staying true to who they are, because I really wish like gospel artists who would remember like the power of gospel music and its influence. And I feel like that's a little bit lost. I feel like like it's like, oh, I want to be seen by everyone, but it's like not really realizing you literally people use gospel and are inspired by it in a lot of genres and in a lot of ways. So there's no reason why we should feel like they're doing us a service, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just, it's so annoying. But yeah, I want to know like, but first, sorry, I'm going to pause real quick because my camera is about to die already. So it's probably going to switch cameras.
Okay, okay.
Just want
You
to
good.
let you know if it just like flashes off, that's why.
Okay.
So yeah, if it does that, just restate what you're saying. Because I'm gonna pause it and edit it there.
Okay, I got you.
But okay. So I do want to know your thoughts though. How do you feel about the current state of gospel music right now?
Man, that's a loaded question, yo. I'm not even trying to be funny. That's a really loaded question. Um, cause man, like it's almost like what's prospering in gospel music is the wrong thing, and the people that are doing the right thing are like really like not noticed for real, you know.
Mm,
Or a big thing that happens a lot of times is people start out doing the right thing, and then they get a taste of what it's like in the industry, and then they compromise, you know. And
mm,
I think the sad part about this is I don't think people realize that, and when I say people I mean gospel artists. I don't think we realize that we understand like mercy and grace and stuff like that, right? We believe that okay, if we fail, God can pick us up and keep us going or whatever. But like, what about all of the people that are impacted by your decisions that you make while you're off, right? So let's say you have a million people God has impacted. He has given you influence over a million people because of this one song you did, right? And then you go and join yourself to a secular artist, and right after we're done with the secular artist, this feature or this collaboration, we don't see them change. We see you change. So
mm,
they still maneuvering the same way they maneuvering. They doing whatever they doing. They doing everything that's not God's will to do. But then something about your music start changing. When I used to listen to your song, as soon as you open your mouth, like tears will fly down my face. Where now it's like I'm like, is this like a gospel song anymore? Like, is this even a gospel song? It sounds like something else. Like why when we mingle, we change. And I think that's the state of
yeah,
gospel music right now. Like we don't got no pillars. We don't have nobody for real that's putting on that is somebody that is trans. Like, okay, there's some people in the gospel space that are known in the world, right? Those are the people who are not putting on for the faith. Like they're making us look like a big like clown circus act right now. Because it's like if God be for us, who can stand against us, man? Like why do we feel like we need anything from the world, bro? Like these,
yeah,
I don't understand the mindset of, hey, you know what? I know God brought me this far to the point where I'm standing in this same label thing to even have this conversation. But then, hold on, this thing is loud. So like, it's like I'm trying to figure out how to say it, man. So I didn't need this person or this company or this label or whatever all the way up until this point. Like they recognized me because of all of what God did. But now that I'm
right.
here, I need them. Like, but not like you didn't
Mm,
need them to get where you at. You know what I mean? And I think that's the estate of gospel in my opinion. Like there's really not a lot of people that are being recognized as the ones to follow that are actually doing it the right way. I know so many people that are doing it the right way, but they don't get recognized a certain way. Whereas all the people that we saw start off a certain way, they're starting to waver a little bit. You know what I mean?
yeah. I There's so many names I can say right now, but I'm not. There's so many are like who are just yeah, but we won't.
Yeah. Because we did. Well, we did a live. Me and like I work with Forgiven Music, so Karen and Light, Kidley, and Donjay Live. We did a live one time, and we were saying names. Like we were saying names, and people was in the comments, and they was like, saying what they were saying and stuff. But I do think that it needs to be talked about, though.
Yeah.
I do think it needs to be talked about. I don't want to talk about it in a way where I harm the individual, but I do want to talk about it in a way where I save the people that are seeing it and just don't know how to talk about it. You get what I'm saying? Like we could talk
Right,
about
right.
like you should not be on stage shaking and looking like you're having a seizure. We shouldn't be doing songs with people that right in the next song they're talking about twerking and stuff like that. Like it's just not godly. I'm not trying to be funny, but like it's just
No, but yeah,
it's not godly. It looks funny. It doesn't have any
yeah.
power behind it, and you making a mockery of the gospel.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And I recently had like a conversation where there were gospel artists on a particular rap artist song like album.
Yeah,
And so
Glorilla,
they were, huh?
Glorilla.
Yeah. So that recently, because on her album you have Kirk Franklin, Maverick City, and Kiera, which yeah, um, like I was kind of surprised that Kiera was on the track, but you had people like on social media and some people in person that were like, oh. What if this person yeah, especially on social media. What if this person listens to the album and they're so inspired by this song that it leads them to Christ? And I was like,
How? I
the
listened to the
song,
song.
I was like, the song, it says nothing. Like there's nothing in the
Like yo, she
song.
it's like a it's. I'm not trying to be funny, cause like I hope like I literally hope the best in God's will for Glorilla's life, right? But
Hmm.
like that's not edifying the body of Christ, bro. Like it's just not like she's on there praying to God about like you like or her version of praying to God. Like we gotta understand something. Like the Bible literally says, it's not God's ear or His hand being too short, but it's our sin that separates us from Him, right? So you can't like try to like tell a person they can talk to a God that He said they can't talk to unless He deal with their sin, you know. And I think that's the thing. Like we don't we are we're so in efforts to save people completely defying the scriptures. But like there's no way to save a person outside of the scriptures. You have to believe the scriptures, bro. Like you can't just be like, well, I think that we don't get like we don't operate by how you think, bro. like,
Hmm.
like this thing ain't built off of you. How Jesus think about that? What did you ask him? Cause like
Hmm.
it's certain people that I look up to that I'm so inspired by that I would never get on a song with, you know. And I think people when they hear me say that in my live, they said I was bluffing. They said like cap and stuff like that, but I'm not capping. Like if I got presented an opportunity to do certain stuff with certain people, it's certain gospel artists I wouldn't even work with at this point because of how they look to people. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And it's like if
yeah.
God can't give me what you could give me, I don't. I guess it's not meant for me then because
Hmm.
that's just how I feel. And so you're right about we brought up that specific song, and we were trying to figure it out because that song was that song, right? No cursing, whatever the case may be, right? But then the next song right after that was like,
Oh
Lord
Lord.
help me not think about this. Like, whoa, what? You know what I'm saying? And so it's very misleading. Like it's very misleading, bro.
No, yeah. I completely agree. And I was just like, when I saw that on Twitter, I was like, what? No, I was like, y'all are reaching. It's
Yeah.
like this is literally too much. Like this is enough. Like this is
Yo,
crazy.
reaching. Yeah, it's a reach.
Yeah.
It's a reach.
But I completely agree with that. And yeah, I mean, there are certain leading gospel artists that you have seen a change, like even to the point where, because I always like I pay attention to the little things. So, and I do want to ask this later, because you do have some artists who do feel like they should go in different crowds and perform, whether it's like at the BET Awards,
Mhm.
sometimes the Hip Hop Awards, or do ciphers or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and they feel like they should because it's an opportunity to share the gospel in secular spaces. How do you feel about that? And is there a point where that's beneficial? Like, or is it really just them wanting to excel in their career?
Yeah, I think it's both. You know, I think for some people they should go into those spaces because God has ordained for them to, right? Like because if God ordained you to go somewhere, that means He's gonna go before you and He's gonna be with you. right? Like, so you don't have to worry about ever compromising because the guy who is sending you is with you. So he's able to convict you. He's able to let you know what to do, how to do it. But if you go out there on your own, then you don't have nobody to instruct you. So like you're like open to for deception. You know, you're open for any opportunity that look a certain way or prosperous, then you just take it. And then that's how you end up being led astray. Like having God and his instruction is so important because I think some people can handle that and I think some people can't. I think some people it will help their career excel. I think for some people it would like damage them spiritually. You know, it just depends on the person. Like for me, like personally, I don't see nothing wrong with a Christian performing at the BET Awards, the Grammys, the VMA Awards, the Cipher. I don't see anything wrong with a Christian mingling as far as, let me change my words, like coexisting with other secular artists. But I do think it's wrong when it gets to collaborations, right? Because
Mm.
if I have a segment at the Grammys, I'm performing my music by myself. Like
Mhm.
now, when I see Kirk Franklin with Lil Baby, and then I see, you know, like Nicki with Tasha Clark. Like so now, this isn't a performance with my music with just me and God. This is you're a part of it, and so you disqualify anything that could potentially have happened had it just been me and God. Like, but because you're here, you're damaging. Like you're murky in the water. Like your presence alone here is messing up this whole experience that could be happening. And I think that's the thing because it's not to bash anybody. It's not to make us look down on Little Baby or look down on Nicki Minaj. And like to kind of like reiterate, I'm not trying to down like Little Baby or Nicki Minaj or like them as people, right? Like, cause them as people are still like regular souls that like that the Holy Spirit loves, that Jesus loved, that Jesus died for. You get what I'm saying? So like, we're not gonna discredit who they are as people, but they have a certain way that they're viewed as an artist, right? And so they don't promote, project, or any of that sort of anything we believe in. And so, with that being said, we're not supposed to be, I don't believe we're supposed to be collaborating and mingling in a sense of us coming together to do one thing, right? When people say stuff like, oh, well, if they would have came across this and it makes them go to the, like, only the truth sets people free. So just because a gospel person is on a song with secular, like yeah, it may make them curious, but we can't call that ministry. Like because like you're not actually reconciling the person to God. You're not. That's not what's happening. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Like that's not because you end up changing, bro. You know, and I think
Mhm.
that's how I feel about that arena. Like I don't want to lean it more towards the left or more towards the right. I think it depends on the artist, the person, their character, their community, their calling, like whatever they were supposed to do, God is gonna make sure they're able to accomplish it. But I'm specifically targeting the people who don't even care about what God called them to do. They have determined based on where they are in their career what would make them more successful, what will be able to do this, what would do that. Because then now you're literally opening yourself up to deception and compromise. And don't fool yourself to think that all of the influence God gave you, the devil wasn't plotting on how to take it and ruin it. You know?
Mm.
And so that's
Mhm.
how I feel. I feel like, of course, there's things. Even like me, like I said, I've wanted to be a rapper since I was 8 years old. Performing at the Grammys is like literally a dream come true, right?
Mhm.
But at the cost of like my relationship with God, you could cancel Christmas for me, bro. Because because I performed in front of several crowds, and when you're done, the performance itself is probably like anywhere between 10 to 30 minutes, right? Unless you're doing a tour or something like that, you may do a whole album that might be like an hour. I've never done that before, right? It's only been between 10 and 30 minutes. When you're like, that is all you get at that time. When you're done, you have a whole life to still continue to live when you're done with that show. That moment is just that moment. They might document that, put it on the camera. Oh, everybody go a million views on the video, but you still live on in life. And if you don't conquer this to be content with where you are and the peace between you and God, you'll continue to be chasing Grammy, BET, VMA, Cypher,
Mhm.
like because then like you're just like the next person that got all this money but then drugged up and we're not supposed to be like that, bro. We supposed to be walking in contentment. You know what I'm saying? We do the Grammys because God told us to do the Grammys. We do the BET Awards because God told us. I don't care if I was supposed to do the Grammys and then last minute God told me not to. I bet I call and be like, hey, I can't make it. You get what I'm saying? Because like I'm living for something else, you know, and I pray, and that's why I keep people around me because I want to stay like that. I'm not even a person who may not even get so far that I could fall in the same place. So I be mindful of these things. Like I remind myself of this stuff. Like, hey, be mindful. Look at this. Look at that. You know, and that's why I keep myself attached to my community and my people and my accountability partners because they quick to remind me of the stuff that I'm not being mindful of. Hey, I know you did this. Like right after the show, sometimes I be done performing in front of so many people, and I get a call from somebody like, "Hey, you was supposed to do such such." Like, like you get what I'm saying? But you gotta know, like, yo, nah, God don't care about that. He care about this. And if
Hmm.
you care about that, then you go. He gonna let you go do that with whatever God you created. But the one that is over here is still gonna be sitting here waiting for you. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I feel about that.
Hmm. Yeah. And you and you mentioned Nicki Minaj and Tasha Cobbs, and it wanted I kind of wanted to pivot when we talk about the craft of like rapping,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Um, in my personal like opinion of when you have gospel artists who rap,
yeah,
I feel like there aren't that many, or at least in some of the music that I've heard, right? Where like developing the skill of like knowing how to rap. Because I
yeah,
feel like, okay, when we talk about like Nicki Minaj and Tasha Cobbs, yes, I agree that was like alarming.
yeah,
But like from a rap perspective, I was like, oh, but she ate that, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah,
And
oh
so
yeah,
it's like how I feel like there's with some artists the ability to rap and like put if you're putting you have the word in your lyrics or flow and cadence, all of those things, it's like not they like it's not the same as far as the level of
yeah, yeah,
intentionality. Like I've literally heard I don't know who it was, but I've literally heard an artist or a song where they took hustle hard and just literally repeated did it exactly the same way, but it was a gospel song, and I was just like, why? Like what is this? So why do you feel like there aren't more gospel artists who do rap, and then why do you think that some do you think it's important for even being a gospel artist to study the art of rapping?
yes. Oh my God, that's another big topic we talk about. Because let me recircle back to what I'm saying. People like Nicki Minaj, people like Lil Baby, people like these people are like they live and breathe this stuff. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, they may not be promoting our message, but they know how to rap, bro. Like,
Yeah.
we not finna like, come on, you know what I'm saying? Like, we like stop it, you know. And I think that's the thing that I be trying to tell certain believers that I have conversations with, like, okay, just say you don't agree with what they're saying. We can't call them trash. Like, we can't do
Yeah,
that
that's
because,
true.
like, there are millions of people who listen to their music. Obviously, they like something about it. You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I think that's the thing. Like we, there still should be a certain level of hunger in us for what God called us to do, right? And so I look at music like music wasn't always tainted. You know what I mean? Like when God created stuff, it was good. You know, and so when He made music, it didn't start off being what it is now. Even like let's not even look at in the garden. Let's look at like 20 years ago. Music was way different like 20 years ago. Like a lot of it was way more positive. A lot of it was way more like family oriented, like love and relationships and how
Mhm.
to make it out to community a certain way. Like literally like I loved the subject matter. Like it was like something I was listening to the other day and I was like, man, what happened to this? You know, now it's like a bunch of killing and drugs and all the different type of stuff. And so music itself is not the issue. So I'm saying that because most people in efforts to like stay sanctified, it's like they don't even study the craft.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
bro, when you go to school for music, because I went to school for music, you have to go study the craft. You have to
Yeah.
go back and listen to certain people that are not like Christian artists Like, you have to go listen to this. You have to go watch these movies. You have to go see how they produce this. You have to go study this person. Like, you have to go do your research because these are the people that like made you able to do what you're doing today. It's like black people not knowing who like Rosa Parks is and Martin Luther King. Like, you get what I'm saying? It's like, bro, we not calling them Jesus, but we wouldn't even be able to sit. We wouldn't even be able to have these like multicultural churches and stuff without these people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and just because they don't represent for the kingdom doesn't mean they haven't made impact in the world we live in. And I think that's the thing that we have to know how to detach the two, bro. Like, okay, you don't believe in the message, but the message is being ushered through a thing called music, and the music is not message. Those are two different things. There's message in music, but they're not the two, they're not the same thing. And so, like, I personally believe that a lot of Christian artists don't even know like who it is to know inside of hip hop, inside of rap. It's like their vantage point stops at like people, man. Their vantage point stops at people who paved the way before us, like a Lecrae or like something like that. Like that's their, hierarchy. And I think it's nothing wrong with that because Lecrae can rap and he's done so much for Christian rap culture. But Lecrae had to listen to certain people too.
Right.
Lecrae, there was no Lecrae for Lecrae to listen to when he grew up. So who do we think he was listening to? Like, and I think that's the thing. Like, we got to go back and listen because skill wise, we being done up. You know what I mean? Like, as a whole, I'm not putting myself in that category because I know how to rap at a certain elite level because of my research and stuff like that. But I'm not in and of itself. I'm not the only Christian rapper, so I have to put myself in the boat with a lot of us. And most of the times, like when I'm at these shows and when I'm mingling with certain people and I'm talking, I'm hearing their music and I'm mixing it. A lot of times, when producing, I be listening like what? And I'm not trying to be funny, but it's like, bro, you couldn't come up with nothing else like other than like that. And it's because we're used to, like, we gotta, man, bro. This is my last thing on this topic. Like, them people had to come out of the mud with it, right? So like, they like music for them was like, I either am gonna do this or I gotta do this. But I'm tired of seeing my mom on drugs and I gotta get my homie out of jail. And so like, so they went in it with that. You get what I'm saying? Like, they craft was being perfected because they know they are the ones that gotta make their whole family make it out. Like, so they going in it with a different type of hunger. Whereas we perform at our church and people egg us on and we don't feel the need to get any deeper inside of our craft because all we gotta say is when I say Jesus, you say Christ, Jesus Christ. You guys like, bro, if you don't get that out of here, bro, like, we have to evolve. We gotta get better. You know what I'm saying? Like, this ain't like that's why they don't take us serious. And then a Christian rapper's best viral video or attempt at going viral is to be a Christian version of somebody else.
Yeah.
If you don't want to listen to this person, listen to me. No, listen to me. Forget them. Listen to my music just because it resonates with you. Like, I don't want to be the Christian Kendrick Lamar. I don't want to be the Christian JID. I want to be KRL. Like, I don't want to be the Christian version of nobody. And I think that's the thing. Like, we don't, like, them boys that we look up to, that we want to be the Christian versions of, they have a certain hunger in the way that they approach the craft and the way that they have conversations. And they wasn't performing at their churches. They was performing at open mics and being booed and like sitting outside of record labels and trying to talk to Jay-Z and trying to talk to Kanye West. Like, they was hungry, man. So when they got their spot, they wouldn't let nobody take it. And I think we think because we serve God, like, it doesn't take no extra input, no extra like learning, no extra like investigation, no extra like 10,000 hours, man. Like, get up and do what you gotta do. Practice makes perfect, bro. Like, progress, get better, evolve, keep outdoing yourself. Like, work at your craft until it's like dang near like undeniable by anybody that listens to it. You want to get so good as a Christian rapper, or people don't even know you a Christian rapper off sound. The more they dive into your lyrics, they're like, he said something about Jesus, but this so hard, I'm rocking with it. You know what I mean? Like, this crazy. And we got some people like that, but it's like a handful of them. It's not penetrating the space right now. So yeah, you see, I get excited when we talk about this type of stuff. We talk about this a lot.
Yeah, no. But I completely agree with that. Like, I think a lot of times people forget like the art of rapping is so real. It is so important. And like, because when you think about the start of hip hop, like that came out of people trying to survive. So they told their stories. It's storytelling. And then you started seeing people grow, people like now develop this skill and how you should do it, different flows, all of that. So it's like that part of it, like please
Eat
get
that.
it, like learn it, please do it. That is the art of it. It's the same way like a singer, they're going to listen to different artists because they might do riffs, they might do runs, they or have opera, more classical background, or more jazz background.
Yeah.
Those are all different genres, but they still study them, and then they may choose to go into, to gospel as their
Primary.
what type of music they want to perform. But I'm most singers listen to multiple types of, music for the skill level. So yeah, I completely agree with that. Um, and I think those are all that's very true. Very, very,
Yeah.
very true.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And you don't see it a lot. So like you don't. Like it's yeah.
Yeah. It's
So
just
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, it
It's just
is.
crazy.
It's absolutely crazy. So I feel like this was a really good conversation. And I think it really highlighted, a lot of important pieces when it comes to being not only a gospel rap artist, but gospel artist, period. And how, like, what does that look like? Right. So I think this was really good conversation. I do, before we, close off, we have like here at the Lions Den, we like to play games.
Yeah.
So I have a game for you.
Oh,
Are
snap.
you ready?
Let me burst my cobwebs out of my mind real quick. All right, I'm ready.
Okay, so we're now at the part where we like to play the game called Claws up out of confessions. This is where I ask you rapid fire questions. Are you ready? And you have quick time
All right.
to answer these questions. I promise these are actually pretty mild, unless something comes up.
All right, bet. This is cool. All right, cool. Okay.
All right. And here we go. So, who is your favorite artist?
Kendrick Lamar.
Why?
Why? Exactly what we just talked about. He is a master of the craft. He's a rapper's rapper, and without his music or his catalog or discography, I probably wouldn't even took like this whole thing serious.
Mhm. So, okay. So then, what were your thoughts on the beef between him and Drake?
Yeah, so I feel like I feel like people are saying like it was staged and all that stuff. I don't know about all of that because I'm not that tapped into that arena like that. As far as like I don't know people that know them type stuff. But I just, as a fan of both of those guys, I was just listening to subject matter, approach, beats, lyricism, flows, melodies, and I think that all across the board, Kendrick won the battle because I feel like he was more believable.
Yeah.
I think he was more believable. I think what he was saying, like we could see it in Drake. Like, yeah, he does do that. Yeah, like we could see it. Whereas what Drake was saying was kind of like, we don't know that to be true or not. But then also too, just like lyrical ability. I feel like Drake had the more catchier songs, but I do think that Kendrick just rapped better. And then
Yeah.
when he came back with that "Not Like Us," like that shut all that down. And then once
Yeah.
like Drake had dropped something else after that, but he just sounded like he was crying for help at that point, like he was throwing up a
Mm,
white flag. And Kendrick didn't even
mhm.
respond. And then on top of that, he dropped a video and he did a concert. Like, so it's like I feel like Kendrick, this is his year. This was his moment. He proved himself. He. This is what I mean by preparing. Like success is when opportunity meets preparation. Kendrick has been preparing for the last 12 years for somebody to do this to this magnitude, and he has proven that like he is him. And until he retires his crown, then somebody gonna have to try to take it from him. So that's just how I feel.
Yeah. So, which do you prefer, old school or new school gospel?
Old school.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, are there any new school artists that you're feeling?
Yeah, man. I think new school. So heart wise, not so much musically, but I love um her. What's her name from Bethel? Stephanie. Stephanie Gretzinger. And
Okay.
then it's another girl named Sarah Jews or Jewers or something like that. Um, who else? Like, and when I'm saying these people's names, I'm not mentioning their songs because I just feel like they have a heart for God, the way that
Mm,
old school music did. Like when we heard stuff like you said, like Never Would Have Made It or CC Alabaster Box or um, more than anything, like like God, I love you more than anything. Like when we hear those songs, it's just like bro, like it gets you in your bag. Like if you ever struggling with reaching God in your heart, turn one of them on, and it's just boom. Whereas music now is like, oh, this is
they're
cool. Like
whining.
it's just like it's just like okay, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah, not really no new stuff like that. When I want to reach God, like and really like worship, I'm probably gonna turn on some more than likely.
Okay. Okay. And how did you feel about Kanye West doing gospel or becoming a gospel?
Yeah, I put that in one of my songs. I was saying I pray we don't end up like him, and the reason why I say that is because I feel like people don't give people an opportunity to fully encounter God, right? So we know when Paul was stopped on his way to Damascus, um, he was like, "Who are you, Lord?" Jesus was like, "I'm the one you persecute," and whatever. He gave him instructions, and he led him to another believer, and that believer was coming to do the rest of the will like that God had for him. And I think we didn't give Kanye West that opportunity. At least we didn't see it, right? So when Kanye must have had an encounter or whatever, kind of came to this come to Jesus moment, what people call it, like he didn't go through any form of like discipleship. He didn't he just went straight into like owning the church, like not knowing
Mm,
how to even handle God's people, how to handle the word of God, how to you have to learn, bro. Like if you spent 40 years with the devil, you don't think you need to learn one with God?
mm,
Like you don't have to go
mm,
1 year with God to learn Him. You could just, I know God. How? You don't even know the devil. You've been with him 40 years. You know what I'm saying? Like no, And I think I didn't like it at all. Now, mind you, let's take the like the other side off of it. It was fire though. When you hear them choirs and you hear the music,
mm,
Kanye West is a master of the craft. So we cannot listen to that and be like, "Oh, this is trash." But I just don't think it was right to do because it negatively impacted so many people.
mm,
So I didn't agree with it at all. I was not for the movement at all, like not
mm.
whatsoever. But when I listen to the music, it really is great music though, like just sonically and lyrically and things like that. So yeah, it's kind of like my take on
Okay. Last question. What's one artist you would love to collaborate with?
it. That's a great question. Oh man, artists I would love. You said how much time I got this?
Rapid fire.
Rapid fire.
Quick.
All right. um, man. All right. So can I ask a question to the question?
Sure.
All right. So does it have to be somebody that I don't know, or it doesn't matter like whether I
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
it doesn't have to be an artist. It can't be like a producer or anything like that.
Um, you could do both. Whoever. Who do you want to collaborate with? It doesn't matter.
All right. So I want to collaborate with Soundwave. Soundwave is Kendrick Lamar's producer.
Okay.
Um, I just feel like his his way that he sculpted Kendrick's like music for his career, like I would love to get in there with him. And he did something on Rhythm and Flow last season with D Smoke, and I don't know what I would be able to come up with if I sat in there with such level of greatness. Because I'm like my own producer. I rarely like find other beats that I like from other people and stuff. So a lot of times I don't know what it would be like to sit and not have to worry about that side at all. Like just sit there and give an idea and have somebody create some like beauty around, and I could just like be an artist. I really don't know what that's like, but if I had to go with somebody that I would go to first, it probably would be Soundwave. I don't really have an artist, like a musical artist that I want to like, that I'm like, oh, I want to like, collab with right now. But I do have some producers, and he would be the top one.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you so much for playing Cloud Out Confessions. This was honestly probably one of the mildest ones. So you got lucky.
I got lucky. I was like, all right, man, we might be good, bro. Thought you was about to be like, would you ever like? I don't know, man. If you had $1 million, would you go like, oh Lord? That's what's up.
Yes. So to close out the show, I like to give my guests 30 seconds to a minute. This is the segment we like to call Touch Grass, where you can say whatever you want to say, express how you feel, give advice, go on a rant, there's something bothering you, whatever
Right.
you want to say. The space, the floor is yours. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Here, take it away.
I want to say to the Lions, then, thank you for having me. Um, I think that this has been like such a great experience to be able to express like genuinely, authentically, like transparent, like with transparency, but with intention. A lot of times people don't have the perspective. It's either we don't talk about it at all, or we can't have a regular conversation about what we think is good or bad, or what we think is true or not, or what we think should be or should not be. And I have a thing that I say a lot where I typically don't speak on what we can or can't. I just speak candidly, right? It's a rhyme scheme, but I really take that into consideration. I really don't speak on what we can or cannot do, but I just speak candidly. And I think has been the, at least for now, like the one of the best, like not just podcasts but conversations that I've had, like so candidly with a person, where we were able to talk about it, not feel like there was a compromise, but still be able to address specific stuff that people may already be thinking about. So I don't got no rant. My name is KRL, if you didn't know. At KRL Hope Dilla on every social media platform. um, I've done a lot of stuff. I work with a lot of people y'all know. I'm just on the credits on the back end. I'm still trying to grind and come up. Um, and I'm still trying to, I feel like slowly but surely, make an impact and make sure that I'm the example of what we're talking about. So when it's time to entertain those spaces, they don't see any compromise or anything in me that's willing to do the same thing that we just discussed. It's not okay. So that's kind of all I got, man. Thank you for having me. Thank you for this. This was cool. Um, and yeah, I hope to be on soon, man. When more stuff start coming out, I'm gonna hit you up. Like, hey, you saw that? We may need to round that back, bro.
Yes, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciated this conversation. It was really good. Thank you everyone for listening or watching. You can catch new episodes coming out on Thursdays, right? We'll premiere it live on YouTube. Also, look out for the Lions in After Dark, where we'll be recapping your favorite TV shows. So please feel free to let me know what you would like for us to cover. Thank you guys for listening again, and I will see you all next time.